Borderlands has introduced a ton of amazing weapons over the years, and often the best ones return in future games, sometimes improving on the design and sometimes botching them horribly. These are the 10 weapons that I think need to return in Borderlands 4.
It's a top 10 list. Do we really need to say we're starting with 10?
Starting us off strong at number 10 is the Unkempt Harold, originally appearing in Borderlands 2, where you could get it around level 10 or so and use it for about 15 to 20 levels or so. The Unkempt Harold is a strong pistol with very little downside, great for medium/close range and serving as a great fight for your life weapon to get out of sticky situations. The Harold is often considered by fans to be one of the strongest overall guns in the series. It made a return in Borderlands 3 via the Bounty of Blood DLC, where it actually got even stronger than the Borderlands 2 version by offering a multitude of elemental options, faster projectile speed, and an easy drop source that didn't require long drives across the map to farm it. This gun is extremely popular, and Gearbox would be crazy to not bring it back.
Now let's see number 9!
Coming in at number 9, much like the Unkempt Harold, the Butcher appeared in Borderlands 2 and 3, but it also originated in Borderlands 1. In the first game it was a legendary, but in Borderlands 2 it was made into a Pearlescent and was one of only a few Pearlescent items that were actually worth obtaining. Then in Borderlands 3 it was back to being a legendary again, since they foolishly never added Pearlescents to that game, but it had a tumultuous start on Borderlands 3 after getting nerfed in October of 2019, just a month after the game's release. It sadly took a year and a half for Gearbox to not only fix that mistake, but actually buff the Butcher into arguably the strongest shotgun in Borderlands 3. The Butcher's special effect is that it has a chance to refill the magazine with a random amount of bullets while shooting, basically making this an infinity pistol shotgun, but actually really strong.
Number 8!
At number 8 is the Pimpernel. Now there's something just insanely satisfying about the Pimpernel. Shoot an enemy in the crotch, watch the extra Pimpernel projectile split upward and out, dealing extra damage. A blue mission reward that actually out damages most legendary and pearlescent gear. That's just wild to me. Obtainable in mere minutes, hindered only by the fact that you can't farm this thing without abusing read-only cheaty tactics. It was an absolute fan favorite for anybody that actually used it and knew how to use it on Borderlands 2. Borderlands 3 offered the complex root as a variation on the theme, and it's a fun sniper too, but it's nowhere near as good as the Pimpernel. Please, Gearbox, if I could choose any one item on this list that I want back personally myself, it's the Pimpernel.
Number 7!
At number 7 is going to be the answer for a lot of you guys, the Sandhawk. No, actually, scratch that. The Flipper. That's right. I'm advocating for the Sandhawk to be retired and never brought back. Instead, I present you the Flipper. This Borderlands 3 Maliwan SMG fires in a tight pattern of projectiles with increasing number of projectiles added as you continuously shoot it. The increase in bullet count goes from 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 extra and caps out at 9 extra bullets just by holding down the trigger. This is why I say that the Flipper should be the one that's brought back, and forget about the Sandhawk. They're both really good SMGs, but man, the Flipper is just so much better. Also, it comes in all the elements and it always has a second element built in, so you can get one with fire and shock, or cryo and radiation, or any other possible elemental pairing. Unlike the Sandhawk, there is no read-only farming required to farm this thing. Minosaur in the Bounty of Blood DLC drops it at a stupidly high 33% drop chance. Also, remember how the Sandhawk basically needed the B shield to be overpowered? Not a problem for the Flipper. Doesn't matter what shield you use, this thing shreds. Forget the Sandhawk, bring me back the Flipper.
And now for number 6!
Speaking of items from the Bounty of Blood DLC in Borderlands 3, at number 6 is the Light Show. Remember how coveted the Infinity Pistol was in Borderlands 2? Part of the charm and appeal was that it was a gun that you could just shoot forever and never have to reload it. Well, the Light Show was that for Zane mains in Borderlands 3, but somehow it was even better than the Infinity. High fire rate, but the trade-off is the spread of the bullets, forcing you to use this basically in shotgun range. However, Zane could use the skill Man of Focus to get that bullet spread way down, making this gun a bullet hose. But even in the hands of other Vault Hunters, the Light Show remains one of the best overall pistol options in Borderlands 3. And with the ability to roll class mods that increase your accuracy, that could bring down the spread of those bullets considerably, making this a very accurate gun.
5! That's a number number?
At number 5, the Soul Render. A lot of people think that I love the Soul Render because I have bad aim.
It's true.
But in fact, I love this gun because the skulls that it shoots out deal 20 times the base weapon damage as weapon element splash damage. So let's say you get one with 20,000 base damage and radiation as its element. It's going to deal 400,000 radiation splash damage per skull that hits an enemy. That's insane. The skulls also home in on enemies, so yeah, you don't even need to aim this thing at all. The bullet damage is pretty average, but those skulls just tear through everything. The concept, the skin, the usefulness of this gun, the ease of farming it, all make this one that I hope to see return in Borderlands 4. At number 4 is the Maggie. The Maggie is a Jacob's pistol that has made an appearance in all but the first Borderlands game and has been an absolute fan favorite in each game as well. A quick firing revolver that makes you feel like Clint Eastwood in A Fistful of Dollars or Charles Bronson when he steps off the train in Once Upon a Time in the West. If you know, then you know.
You brought too many.
The Maggie fires 6 bullets per shot at the cost of 1 ammo. One thing that rarely gets mentioned about the Maggie is the skin. Even in the pre-sequel in Borderlands 2, the hint of pink on this gun gave it a very distinctive look. But in Borderlands 3, that look got a huge glow up into this gorgeous design that you see right here. If you want to feel like a cowboy, get yourself a Maggie.
And now we're down to number 3.
And number 3, the Lady Fist. In Borderlands 1, it was the Lady Finger, but in Borderlands 2, it became the Lady Fist. Now, going by the song Stink Fist by Tool, the next logical iteration should be the Lady Elbow. But let's not go too deep into the borderline in that line of thought. Instead, let's focus on what the Lady Fist did in Borderlands 2. Originally, it was already the highest crit damage multiplying weapon in the game with 500% critical hit damage bonus, but in February of 2014, Gearbox was like, hey, maybe we can do even more crit damage. And they buffed that stat up to 800%, basically giving it the Hellwalker overhaul treatment before the Hellwalker even existed. Had the Lady Fist existed in Borderlands 3, it would have been massively broken because of the crit swap mechanic. In case you're not familiar with what that is, basically you shoot any gun, let's say the aforementioned Sandhawk in Borderlands 2. Now, while the bullets are still in the air or on their way to the target, you pause your game, you put the Lady Fist in the slot that the Sandhawk was in. Now, when those projectiles land, they're all going to deal 800% bonus critical hit damage, assuming that they hit the crit spots. In Borderlands 3, you could apply Torque stickies and swap to the Unforgiven to abuse its 432% critical hit damage boost, which was already wild. So I can only imagine doubling that damage via the crit damage of the Lady Fist. That would have been nutty.
Number 2.
Speaking of nutty, at number 2, the Norfleet. I had to do it. I had to bring it back. Even though Borderlands 3 gave us a similarly fun launcher in the back burner, I know the Norfleet is one of the most sought after and coveted weapons in Borderlands 2, and the way to obtain it was actually pretty brilliant loot balancing by Gearbox in my opinion. You want a Norfleet? You either got to kill a raid boss that basically requires you to hunt down a rare spawning raid boss in the wild, aka Vermivorous, for a meager 20% chance to get it, or you kill Hyperius, another raid boss that's hard to solo for most players, and then enjoy your 1.67% drop chance. That's right, less than 2%. And the reason that the drop chance is so low is because Gearbox filled Hyperius's loot pool with garbage like the Hornet, the Pyrophobia, the Shredifire, the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, the Kiss of Death, and the Sledge's Shotgun. But once you had a Norfleet, it was hard to not just want to abuse it via sham fleeting, equipping a high absorb sham shield and spamming your Norfleet to deal damage while also absorbing your own rockets back into your ammo supply. The Norfleet is very hard to obtain legitimately in Borderlands 2, and having one felt like a status symbol, like you've achieved something, and I kind of want that feeling back in Borderlands 4. Honorable mentions. All of the Moxie weapons like the Crit, the Hail, the Heartbreaker, the Slow Hand, the Good Touch, the Bad Touch, the Creamer. Assuming Moxie returns in Borderlands 4, and let's be honest, they would be insane to not bring her back, we should see the return of several Moxie weapons. Weapons that can heal you while doing damage. The Crit and the Heartbreaker from Borderlands 3 at the very least need to return because those are amazing. Other honorable mentions I got for you guys include the Hive, Dark Army, Backburner, Anarchy, Becca, Bitch, Hellfire, Flacker, Hornet, Unforgiven, Ogre, Flare, Double Anarchy, Hellwalker, and the Gub. But the Gub needs to have new red text that just says, "The drop, dude."
And you've been waiting for it. Here we are. Number 1.
Finally, at number 1 is a gun that has appeared in every Borderlands game, the Skull Masher. Now, before anybody says it, no, it did not appear in Wonderlands, but that's technically not a quote-unquote Borderlands game. Anyhow, the Skull Masher has been a fan favorite since the first game, a sniper that deals insane critical hit damage, and in Borderlands 3 can even be used like a shotgun to quickly delete enemies at close range. This thing, having appeared in all of the mainline Borderlands games, means, in my opinion, it needs to come back again. This thing is a classic. If you ask me to name a gun that sort of symbolizes Borderlands, I generally think of the Skull Masher because it's always been around, and I love this gun. Matter of fact, when I was asked for a suggestion for a weapon that they should put into the Borderlands movie, I told them the Skull Masher has to be in there, and I explained to them exactly what I'm explaining to you guys, and here's a picture of me holding it. So there you have it, guys. Those are my top 10 items that I think need to return in Borderlands 4. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Best one to get pinned to the top. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.